50 Nigerian girls who entered the burning sand of the Sahara Desert. Only 40 of them made it alive.
10 girls were left behind, their eyes blocked out by the desert vultures. But as Adesuwa stepped out of the rubber boat onto the shores of Italy, she realized the terrifying truth. The 10 girls who died in the desert were actually the lucky ones. Welcome to Tales by Adaeze. Please be part of our community by clicking the subscribe button and share with us in the comments below your country that you are watching this video from. I want to know how far the video is traveling. The journey through the Sahara Desert was pure, unfiltered shege. For 15 good days, Adesuwa and the other girls walked under the scorching sun that felt like hot iron pressed against their skin. Their shoes tore to pieces and their feet bled into the sand. Water was a luxury, only one tiny dirty cup per day. By day 6, Blessing, the 16-year-old girl, could not take it anymore. She collapsed into the sand, her lips cracked and bleeding, gasping for air. "Please, water," Blessing cried, reaching her weak hand towards the chief smuggler. The smuggler did not even slow down. He kicked sand into her face and kept walking. "Leave her alone. If any of you stop to help her, I will shoot you dead," he shouted. Adesuwa tried to grab Blessing's hand, but 2 armed guards dragged Adesuwa away. She was forced to watch in pure agony as Blessing was left alone in the empty desert. As they walked away, Adesuwa looked back and saw vultures already circling in the sky above the crying girl. By the time they crossed the border into Libya, 10 girls had perished already. Their bodies were left to rot in the sand. But Libya was not a refuge, it was a slaughterhouse. The smugglers locked the 40 remaining girls inside the dark, filthy underground warehouse in Tripoli. Armed Libyan rebels walked in every night like men choosing cows at night. They took whichever girls they wanted. Anyone who fought back was beaten with metal pipes or shot dead without no mercy. Adesuwa survived by hiding under piles of dirty blankets, crying silently into her hands every single night, praying to a God who she felt was a million miles away. After 2 months of terror in Libya, the surviving 40 girls were pushed into a small rubber boat at 3 a.m. The sea was wild, cold and pitch black. Waves slammed into the weak boat, pouring freezing salt water over their heads. 3 times the engine died. 3 times the girls screamed, believing they were about to sink to the bottom of the ocean. Finally, after long hours of fighting death, the boat washed up on the shores of Italy. The girls fell onto the wet sand, crying tears of relief. They thought the nightmare was over. They thought they had finally reached the land of freedom, money and big dreams. A large white van pulled up on the beach. The door slid open and out of it stepped Madame Osas, wearing an expensive leather coat. She did not offer them food. She did not offer them warm clothes. "Get in," Madame Osas shouted, her voice cold as steel. She drove them deep into the dark outskirts of Italy, stopping in front of a dark, gloomy apartment building. As soon as the 40 girls packed into the living room, Madame Osas stood at the front, followed by 2 giant armed men. "Hand over your passports, all of you," Madame Osas commanded. One by one, the terrified girls surrendered their travel documents. Madame Osas tossed the passport into an iron box and locked it with a heavy key. "Madam Osas, please," Adesuwa spoke up, her voice shaking from hunger and cold. "Where is the hotel job? When do we start working in the supermarket you told us about?" Madam Osas looked at Adesuwa and let out a dark, cruel laugh that echoed in the building. "Supermarkets?" Madam Osas shouted, stepping closer and slapping Adesuwa across her cheek. "You foolish village goat! Do you think I spent millions of naira to bring you to Europe to sell bread in a supermarket? There is no hotel job. Your job is on the streets." Panic exploded in the room. "You are not prostitute now," Madam Osas shouted over the sound of 40 girls screaming and weeping. "Every night you will stand on the highway in the freezing cold. The men will pay $20 per round. Out of that $20, I will take my 80% cut for your debt, your food, your rent and my commission. You will only get 20% per man." Adesuwa's was shattered. $20 per sex to pay off a $40,000 debt. With Madam Osas taking 80%, it would take 10 years of pure torture to buy back her freedom. "No, God forbid," Adesuwa screamed, tears flooding her face. "I am a decent girl. I will not sell my body. Send me back to Nigeria. I want to go back home to my parents." Madam Osas' eyes narrowed into slits of pure venom. "You want to go home? You have forgotten the blood oaths you swore at the Juju shrine. If you refuse me, your blood will dry up and your family in Edo State will die." "I don't care," Adesuwa yelled back bravely. "I will never do it." Threw her into the basement. Madam Osas barked at her armed bodyguards. Two heavy men grabbed Adesuwa by her hair and dragged her down into a pitch-black, windowless basement. They locked the heavy iron door from outside. For 5 whole days, Adesuwa was left in total, terrifying darkness. No food, no water, only the sounds of rats biting across her bare feet. She grew so weak that she could barely lift her head from the cold concrete floor. On the 5th night, the iron door was opened. It swung wide open as Madam Osas stepped inside, holding a flashlight. Behind her stood 5 large, rough-looking men, smelling of cheap liquor and stale tobacco. "This is your final chance, Adesuwa," Madam Osas whispered coldly. "Will you go to the street peacefully, or should these 5 men teach you a lesson right here?" Adesuwa, her lips bleeding from dryness, looked up with hollow eyes and spat at Madam Osas' shoes. "Never, I will never do it." Madam Osas smiled a wicked smile, stepped back into the hallway and pulled the door shut, locking the 5 men inside the dark room with Adesuwa. What happened in that basement, no words can describe it. An hour later, the door opened again. Adesuwa laid on the cold floor, broken, bleeding, her clothes ripped to shreds. Her innocence was stolen forever. Tears of agony rolled down her face into the depths. Her spirit was completely shattered. Madam Osas tossed a tiny skimpy red dress and a pair of high heels onto Adesuwa's bruised body. "Put those on right now. Your shift starts immediately." 10 minutes later, Adesuwa was standing on the edge of a dark, freezing Italia highway, shivering violently. A black luxury car pulled off the highway and brought its brake right in front of her. The tinted window slowly rolled down. Inside sat a man with dark, sinister eyes. Who rolled down? Inside sat a man with dark, sinister eyes, holding a $20 bill out out of the window. Adesuwa opened the door and stepped inside. For 5 long years, Adesuwa lived in this living hell. She watched her fellow Nigerian sisters die one by one. Some murdered by violent clients, some dying from street abortions, and others losing their minds to incurable infection and diseases. By the 5th year, Adesuwa had finally paid off the last cent of the $40,000 debt. Madam Osas tossed Adesuwa's passport onto the table. "You are free to go," she said coldly. "Pack your things and get out of my house." Adesuwa walked out of the streets of Milan. She was free, but her soul was dead. She had saved a small bag of money from client tips, but she felt too dirty, too broken to ever return home to Edo State. She walked slowly towards a high bridge over a freezing, rushing river in Milan. She climbed onto the railing, looking down into the dark water below. "I am sorry, God," Adesuwa wept, ready to leap to her death. "I am too dirty for this world. Please accept my soul." She closed her eyes and let her feet slip off the edge. But before she could push her body into the ice water below, a strong hand suddenly reached out from behind, grabbing her hand and pulling her back onto the concrete floor. Adesuwa lay on the ground, weeping uncontrollably. "Leave me alone. Let me die. I am a dirty prostitute. God hates me." The man knelt down slowly beside her. He pulled a small black Bible from his coat, looked straight into her weeping eyes, and said words that made Adesuwa's heart stop. "Jesus sent me here tonight to tell you one thing, Adesuwa. He does not see your death. He sees his daughter. But listen to me carefully. If you jump into this river and die, Madam Osas wins the battle. Because as we speak right now, another boss with 50 Nigeria girls just entered her house." Adesuwa's eyes snapped wide open in pure shock. The tears on her face froze dry. The pastor gripped her hand tightly. "You survived the desert, Adesuwa. You survived 5 years of hell. Now, will you stay here and cry and kill yourself? Or will you let God use you to burn Madam Osa's empire to the ground?" Adesuwa looked at the Bible, then looked up with eyes that had turned from pure sorrow into pure, raging anger. She wasn't going to let Madam Osas win. She wasn't going to let Madam Osas deceive any more girls. She was going to burn down Madam Osa's empire to the ground and make her beg for mercy.
Wonderful viewers, do you think Adesuwa will be able to destroy Madam Osa's empire? Do you think Adesuwa will be able to win this war against Madam Osas? Kindly share your thoughts with us in the comment section, and don't forget to drop the country you are watching this video from. We want to see how far this video is traveling, and don't forget to comment part 3 to let us know you really want part 3 to drop. Thank you very much for watching. I remain your host, Tales by Adaeze. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.